Welcome to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. Here are your hosts, DJ Marcotte and John Soroyce. Enjoy the show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast, the working class podcast. We are the Blue Collar Ballers, John and DJ. Check us out on our Facebook page at Armchair Fantasy Football, on Twitter at Armchair FF Pod. I'm on Twitter at Armchair Kingpin. John is on Twitter at John2977. You can email us at armchairfb@gmail.com. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, and you can find our videos on YouTube. So check us out. Just search Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast, and we'll be there waiting for you. Before we get to the news, just a heads up. Starting next Wednesday, we're going to do themes on the show. So much like we do in the off season, each show will be themed. And next week's theme for Wednesday, the first Wednesday theme show, is going to be Panic Attack. So we're going to discuss players that are off to a rough start or disappointing to start the season and whether or not we're ready to panic. Of course, Tuesday will remain our reaction show from the previous week, as well as waiver pickups. And Thursday will remain start, sit, and weekly projections, John. So let's get into the daily news. What
Daily
do you got, Johnny
news.
boy?
David Njoku has elected not to have surgery on his wrist, but is still expected to miss the next 7 games, being on injured reserve.
Cool. I don't think I had him on any rosters.
Neither did I. We were not high on him, so.
That's fine. That's just fine.
Nick Van Nett traded the Steelers in exchange for a 2020 5th-round pick.
That was interesting.
Yep, it was initially thought that it was. I guess they thought McDonald's injury was worse than they thought.
Okay.
But now it looks like he's going to play week 4 against the Bengals Monday night, but he's dealing with an AC sprain. I think it's insurance.
Yeah, it's depth.
It's more for Grimble from what I've been reading.
Yeah.
So just some depth, but they've traded 3 of their picks now for next year, I believe.
I don't know.
I think a 1st, 3rd, and 5th they have gone already.
I guess they still think they can win this year. And then, of course, this is probably a bump up for Disley, I would think, over in Seattle.
Yes.
A vote of confidence for him.
Adam Schefter reports Melvin Gordon's holdout could soon be coming to an end. Gordon has planned to return sometime in October.
Well, get out of here, fly. They've only won 1 game, so they could probably use him. We saw some chinks in the Austin Eckler armor this past week, and it looked like Justin Jackson was getting some more play. This team needs Melvin Gordon if they want to contend for a championship, and I think they can with Gordon. But you can just tell that there's something missing there. So I'd love to see Gordon back. Buy low on him.
Now's the time. Devin Singletary is still not practicing in Buffalo. Looks like there's a good chance he'll probably miss this week as well.
Yeah, that's a bummer, man. Who are they playing? I mean, we'll
the
get
Pats.
into it. They're playing New England, so Gore's probably not a start this week. Nobody on that team is, but we'll discuss that later on.
Okay. T.Y. Hilton did not practice Wednesday.
Yeah, so
the quad still, so it's something to monitor. He could eventually play, but not good news.
But if he doesn't play, this is good for Paris Campbell, good for Eric Ebron, to a lesser extent Jack Doyle.
Possibly Naheem Hines would line up at receiver.
Interesting. But Hilton so far has seemed like the straw that stirs the drink in that offense. So maybe they're all sittable. I don't know. Who do they play?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
We've got the breakdown. We'll go through it.
Alshon Jeffrey removed from injury report. Will play Thursday night against the Packers. And Deshaun Jackson has officially been ruled out for tomorrow.
So that's good for Wentz, though, to have Jeffrey back out there.
Yep.
Kind of fades Aguilar a little bit, in my opinion.
It knocks him down a notch. He's more the number 2 there. Or sorry, number 3, because Ertz is always the number 1.
The number 1, yeah.
Yep. Damian Williams.
If we're being honest.
Yep.
If I'm being honest, as John likes to say.
Damian Williams did not practice Wednesday, and LaShawn McCoy was limited at practice. So Darrell Williams and Darwin Thompson, but I'm not.
More so on the Darrell Williams.
Side of things.
But McCoy literally hobbled into the stadium last week and he played, and he had a pretty good game. So just definitely something to keep our eyes on.
That's it.
All right.
Very short news. We covered a lot yesterday, so that's it on the news.
Okay, so we'll get into the breakdowns here of this coming week. Starting tonight, Thursday Night Football is Philadelphia Eagles, who are 1-2 at the Green Bay Packers, who are somehow 3-0. It doesn't seem like they're playing all that well, but their defense has been really good. As far as start sits for this game, John, I think obviously Ertz is an obvious start. Davante Adams is an obvious start, but I think it needs to be noted that, like we discussed in yesterday's show, there's some panic going on with Davante Adams. I think this is a get-right game. Philly's secondary is not good, and Aaron Rodgers, I think, is primed for a get-right game, and I think so is Davante Adams. I wonder, John, and we, again, discussed this yesterday, how long is it going to be before Aaron Rodgers just says, yeah, I'm going to do what I want to do out here, and, then you'll see it, maybe Adams peppered with targets a little bit more. I think, and you tell me if you agree with this, I think Green Bay has played against 3 pretty darn good defenses.
Yep,
specifically
Chicago,
pass
Minnesota.
defenses.
Who was the other one? I'm forgetting.
So they played Chicago, Minnesota, and in week 1 Chicago. Who'd they play this week? Minnesota. I mean, I don't know why I'm forgetting the other one.
I'm forgetting the other one too for some reason.
But you had to ask. Yeah, I'm just for some reason drawing a blank. But it definitely is a situation where this is not the type of defense that they've been playing against so far. And I think Philly's gonna be the cough medicine to their defensive struggles as of late. And I think it'll heal them up a little bit. So we'll see how that shakes out. But I think, John, that Davante Adams is primed for a huge game this week. I do own him. I traded a lot of assets to you to get him. So maybe that's just my my inner fantasy football child screaming out and praying for a good game from Davante Adams. But I definitely think this is a great matchup for him. I don't know if you agree with that.
Receiver-wise in this game, I'm not. I think Adams is fine. I think MVS is fine. Allison, I'm not 100% sold on for playing this game.
For the record, it was Denver.
Yep. I was just going to say that.
Last week. It was Chicago, Minnesota, then Denver.
Yeah, which are all...
In Denver was Harris, and he just basically stuck right on Adams' butt the whole time. I don't know why I drove a blank on that one.
I think Darby's going to be covering him. Darby is not the same corner he used to be, so I could be wrong. They may not.
They just have a bad secondary there, so this should be a big game for
their run defense is a lot better than their passing D. Their passing D, I believe, is bottom 10. Their rushing defense, I believe, is top 10. So I'm not sold on Aaron Jones here. If he gets involved, it's going to be the passing game. But Adams, I think, has a good chance to get it back this week.
Yeah, I think it's a get-right game for him. If you look at, the history between Rodgers and Adams, he just heavily targets Adams. And if you look at last week, John, it was really the only week where he wasn't what I would consider heavily targeted. Week 1, he was targeted 8 times, and in week 2, he was targeted 9 times. So I think Adams has got a floor, John, of 100 and a touchdown this week. I don't know if you would agree with that or not.
I was going to say that vicinity, probably 80 to 90 with a chance of 100.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see a Mike Evans stat line from last week, but you could.
He's due to score. I can't see them not. Like I said, that stat last week, I don't think he's gone longer than 2 games. Now we're on 3 games. I think they're going to get him the ball this week, even if it's 1 touchdown. I can see a stat line of 7 receptions, 88 yards, and a touchdown, which would be 21 fantasy points.
Okay.
Could be more.
You mentioned Aaron Jones. Kind of elaborate on why you're a little nervous about him this week.
I know, for one, he's splitting carries with Williams now. It shows more than ever. Last week's timeshare was pretty even between him and Williams. The other part of it is Philly's got a top run defense this week, and if he's going to be involved, be in the passing game. But I don't think the Eagles are good against not just the rush, but also running backs out of the backfield. So I don't see Jones, his value, being worthy of a start here. It's my honest opinion.
What about Miles Sanders? He is very polarizing because he's got the talent. He's, I think, from a talent standpoint, the best back they have, but he's been dropping the ball. He hasn't looked his best. So are you starting him against what I think is a tough Green Bay defense?
Green Bay has been pretty solid against the run. I mean, they're not great against the run. They've shown glimpses, but they actually rank as one of the bottom defenses. As much we think they've been playing better defense, which they have, they actually rank in the bottom for
run
for against the run.
Yeah.
They actually give up 24 fantasy points so far against running backs.
Okay, I get you there.
So Miles Sanders would be sneaky, but temper your expectations based on the fact that he's still in a timeshare. It's still Doug Peterson. I would like to still see a little bit more from Sanders, but last week was a good indication things are trending better, but still not there what we want to see out of Miles Sanders.
I'll tell you again, just to quickly on the Green Bay side of things, I'll tell you again to start MVS this week along with Devontae Adams. Really good matchup. I would sit Geronimo Allison, though. I just don't think there's quite enough to go around there. And then in terms of Green Bay, I think you start Aaron Jones here. I think he'll get enough goal line work, but he looked awful last week. He's not an obvious start, but he is a start, I think. And Carson Wentz, what about him, John? You okay?
Yeah, I'm thinking here. I'm saying no.
Okay. Why?
He doesn't.
It is a tougher defense than people think, especially.
Yeah, Green Bay's defense has been playing better first of all. And especially against.
It helps with Jeffrey out there,
Yeah.
and I'll tie that into Jeffrey. Would you start him?
No, I think the only person I am starting on the Eagles would be Zach Ertz.
Well, definitely Ertz. He's an obvious start. I hope that they're competitive in this game because I want to see Devontae Adams come back to form.
Wentz doesn't look awful, but he doesn't look himself either. I feel like he's rushing more this year instead of sitting back in the pocket more.
Yeah.
I don't know. He just doesn't look comfortable, especially that Atlanta game he played. I know they just barely lost, but he doesn't look like himself this year, but it's the beginning of the year. Weird things happen, so maybe he'll get in this groove. This could be the game he gets in a groove, too. But I don't think it's going to be against Green Bay's defense, though.
Okay.
Not this week.
Are you comfortable if I quiz you on some injuries here and if you think they'll start or not?
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with that?
I think I am.
I don't want to put you on the spot. All right, so we're moving on to Tennessee and Atlanta, John. Oh, I'm sorry. We're moving on to Carolina and Houston's. So Carolina 1-2 Panthers playing at Houston, who's 2-1. You're definitely starting Christian McCaffrey. That's obvious.
Pure volume too. He'll get the touches. He'll get the targets.
Yeah, you're definitely starting. I think Deshaun and DeAndre are obvious starts, obvious must starts. What about Kyle Allen, John? Are you starting him or sitting him?
I would sit him.
Okay. What about? I don't disagree with you, by the way. This is a pretty good Houston defense.
I think they're just getting warmed up, their defense.
Yeah, Allen looked good, but I just need to see more from him. He doesn't have the first-round top 10 pedigree that Daniel Jones has.
Dr. Jones.
And he doesn't have the matchup that Jones has either. So I would probably go ahead and sit Kyle Allen. What about DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, John?
I like Curtis Samuel more. I'm not saying... DJ Moore scared me last week. I believe he only had, 2 targets?
Yeah, he didn't get targeted
He didn't get
much.
targeted
The touchdown
much.
Saved him.
Samuel still seems to be involved quite a bit. And like I said before, and I'll say it again, Kyle Allen has a good bond with Curtis Samuel. And it showed last week. Like I said, I think you start Curtis Samuel until further notice based on that trend. Plus, he's seeing the target. So I can see, 6 catches, 70 yards.
Yeah.
Maybe not a touchdown, but he'll get you at least, I think, double-digit fantasy points this week.
Yeah, 7 targets for him last week. It's tough, though. With only 1 week, I'm not going out of my way to start Moore or Samuel. I need to see more from this offense to make a commitment.
Somebody's going to be targeted, though. That's how I look at it. Someone's going to catch the ball.
I know, but it could be Greg Olsen. And once they're in your starting lineup, John, there ain't no going back from that.
Yeah, Greg Olsen's another one I would start because rookie quarterbacks favor their tight ends.
I would probably start Olsen over Samuel or DJ Moore this week. I just want to see a little bit a little bit more.
Yeah, 'cause
No pun
yeah.
intended.
He didn't look bad in the preseason, but preseason is preseason. You don't play against these J.J. Watts and stuff, these top defensive linemen. So
Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson stink at this point, so
Sit
I'm
'em
not
both.
starting either of them. I'll always start Will Fuller in my flex, though. You know what I mean?
Fuller has that boomer bust. That's why. His like this week, what did he get? I think 5 catches for like 50 yards, so a low 10. But if he goes off with Watson, you're talking what? Let's say 6 catches, 60 yards, 3 TDs.
Yeah.
Because that's a Will Fuller boom game right there.
Yeah, it is.
So-
let me just take a look at the injury report real quick to see if there's anything. Greg Olson, is he good to go, you think?
Yep.
Okay. That's pretty much it for notable guys on the injury report.
Cam Newton not going. We already.
Oh,
said that
Cam, yeah,
yesterday.
he's out for a while
He's out.
with the Liz Frank thing, and he could be out most of the season at this point, or at least the meat of it. So thank you, Phil, for not trading him to me. Appreciate you there. Next game, John, on the docket, the still Cleveland, still the Browns against Baltimore, who's 2-1. This is in Baltimore. I am not starting Baker Mayfield, and I'm going to tell you right now, bro, I think he's a cut candidate. I really do. And I think anybody that's keeping him right now, if you're looking at it, without your Baker Mayfield glasses on, if you're an owner of his, if you're looking at it objectively, why? I mean, he's not a keep. And I get it. Odell's there, Landry's there. I mean, they have all these weapons, but I think in some cases he's a cut candidate, and I'm certainly not starting him against Baltimore. There ain't no way.
Last year, he did not do well against Baltimore, both matchups. This defense, one, it's a divisional matchup. 2, he has not played last year. Both matchups against the Ravens, he struggled. I think he'll struggle here again. This Ravens D, yes, they did get chopped up by Mahomes.
Yeah.
But Baker Mayfield is no Mahomes, and not even on the same level. So I agree with you 100% here. Sit Baker. I would even temper if you have better options than Odell. I even say he's going to be covered heavily.
You're obligated to start Odell.
No.
I would sit Jarvis Landry for sure. I think you have to start Odell, and I think you have to start Chubb, but just be careful. But then again, Baltimore did just get destroyed by Kansas City. Now, mind you, Cleveland is not playing like Kansas City is.
Yes, exactly. They're a different caliber.
But worth noting, they're not impenetrable, so to speak. Mark Andrews, is he playing?
Yes, he just the last 2 weeks he's taking Wednesdays off for his foot for an extra day of rest.
Yeah.
As it looks right now, unless something happens between Thursday's practice or Friday's practice, he is on track to play.
Yeah, and I'm starting him. I think last week's clunker was largely due to the fact that he was banged up.
He was limited because of his foot. In warm-ups, he wasn't even running routes, so they could limit his plays or so how much he was going to play in the game. It did hurt his fantasy value last week, but I know they're trying to get him healthy. He's obviously Lamar Jackson's favorite target.
So, with that being said, Lamar Jackson is a start, I would assume, this week. What do you think?
Yes.
Okay.
Browns are banged up in the defensive backfield. They had 5 starters out this past week.
That's a great point, and I think they're very susceptible to get.
I think you start Ingram here. You start your Ravens this week. I mean, Hollywood Brown is obvious. Mark Andrews is obvious. Lamar Jackson is obvious.
Yep.
I think Mark Ingram's obvious.
Mark Ingram is definitely an obvious start.
After that, you have to be kind of careful because obviously Boykin's not involved, so don't start him. But the obvious names, yes, start them. Start them all.
Yeah, a little nervous, by the way, about Justice Hill. I'm really hoping to see a spark from him.
But like we've noticed in the past with Baltimore, they change
you gotta wait
running
it
backs like 2 weeks later. It can all. I know Gus the Bus is involved, Edwards, but I think it'll change. Just give it time. Change it to the guard or change it to the backs, I should say.
Yeah.
Alright, that's good. It's hard to trace, I guess. Wait, you changed your name to McLovin? McLovin? What kind of a stupid name is that, Fogel? What, are you trying to be an Irish R&B singer?
Oh, they let you pick any name you want when you get down there.
And you landed on McLovin.
Are you landing on McLovin this week? I told you, by the way, last week.
McLovin is already in my lineup. He is not coming out. He is clearly their number one. Worst mistake I made.
I told you. He's like,
It wouldn't have
Let's start this guy from
from Dallas, Devin Singletary. No, John, it's Devin Smith. Oh, I think I'm gonna start.
I
him.
didn't say
And
Devin
I'm like-
Singletary. I
and
didn't
I'm
say
like,
Devin Smith.
No, dude, you need to start McLovin. Just roll with McLovin. You just start McLovin, and John didn't, and he lost. Not only because of that, because his team really disappointed him, much like mine did this week. But
I got killed by Tyler Lockett and Russell Wilson.
McLovin could score 30 fantasy points this week. I firmly believe that. I think he's going to go off.
Against the Giants, yeah, Giants defense is just awful.
Sterling Shepard's a must start. Evan Ingram is a must start. In my opinion, these guys are. Daniel Jones, I think, is a must start. He could turn into a pumpkin this week. Who knows? But based on everything I saw last week and the ability of the Redskins defense to give up points to the other team, I think Jones is a must start. And I say Shepard and I say Ingram, John, because there's no Barkley here. I think this team's going to throw a lot. And I think instead of those dump offs to Barkley, I think they're going to be dump offs to Shepard. I really do.
Yeah, I'm starting Shepard this week in my lineup. I don't have a choice either because it's the first week of buys, like we said. But I am starting Shepard based on the fact he should see a higher volume in targets with Barkley out, as well as, Ingram's already seen a high share, but I still see him continuing. I don't know who's playing running back for New York because they haven't said a word yet. But
I think you assume at this point it's Gallman. Obviously, Jordan Reed's out of this game.
Jordan Reed's out of
and we know Barkley is.
I'm not.
Case Keenum, he's good to go, right? And
Yep,
he
and he
kind of
is-
got a vote of confidence as well.
Yep, the
from
coach already
coaching
said that
staff.
he is still the starter, that he is still starting this week. There is no change at quarterback. He has confidence in him. Let's be honest, this was his one implode game. I think, 2 fumbles, 3 interceptions?
I'm not a Keenum guy, but honestly, if you're a McLovin owner, and yes, we know it's McLaurin, if you're a McLovin owner, you kind of want Keenum out there because you know he's got the chemistry with him. You assume that Haskins does because they played together, but hey, you know what, man? I remember when Kobe Fleener came out, and I was all over that guy because he played with Andrew Luck, and that and a dime didn't buy me a cup of coffee. So, that doesn't always translate.
You starting Gallman?
I'm
not.
If I don't have better options, if you're in a situation where you just lost, like your situation, John, you have David Johnson, who you're definitely starting, but who's your RB2 behind that? If you were to have Gallman, which you don't because you didn't handcuff him, and
I wouldn't start Gallman
and
this
you didn't spend 84 fab dollars on him.
Redskins are a top 10 run defense right now.
That's a good point. Yep.
I wouldn't play him based on that. And
I wouldn't start him
Yeah.
unless you really don't have any better options.
I'm starting Justin Jackson in this place this week.
Are you really?
Yes.
That's a leap of faith. That means you're.
No, I don't think so. I think this is the.
Hey, don't get me wrong, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about that matchup, but Justin Jackson's workload is increasing and Eckler's is decreasing. So I don't.
And Miami's the game to get it proven.
So are we starting him in the tag team league? Is that what you're telling me?
We could.
We definitely could. Speaking of that, I think that's actually the next game on the list for us. It is.
It is. What a tie-in.
Los Angeles Chargers at the lowly Miami Dolphins. You're right, John. Eckler. I think Eckler's a must start, but Jackson could get some play too. So why don't you elaborate on your thoughts on that?
So my thought here is Miami is dead last in multiple categories.
Everything, probably.
Yeah, but they rank the bottom. When I mean the bottom, they are dead last against running backs and giving up points per position.
Sending our love down the well.
So, oh yeah, Miami is so bad that they have given up so far.
How bad are they?
They gave up 31.33 fantasy points so far. They're the dead last.
Crazy.
They're dead last.
That's an embarrassment.
They have given up 178 rushing yards. That's awful.
Is Rosen getting the start this week, by the way?
As far as I
He's
know,
on the injury report, but I'm fairly certain
he is the start until further notice.
Okay, so are you starting him?
No.
I agree. We got to talk about.
No, I know. I'm not starting him
We
now.
got to talk about.
Are you-
Wait, we got to talk about some Miami Dolphins players.
Preston Williams.
Wait a minute. Okay. But well, hold on.
I know where you're going with this.
All right. I lost my steam on that.
You
so,
don't like the Drake.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Preston Williams. I actually like Preston Williams a lot.
He's seeing the target share, and he actually is seeing a lot of targets with Rosen as well. Definitely some chemistry there. I think it'll continue.
He's had double-digit points every week in
Yep.
PPR. So You gotta love that. I really like Preston Williams, and I think you could start worse guys in your flex. I think he's a good flex option this week. I'm not starting him, but I'm starting Josh Jacobs in my flex because I'm expecting a bounce back. But man, I've thought long and hard about Preston Williams in there because I'm certainly not starting Stephon Diggs in my flex, and I'm not quite comfortable with Deebo Samuel yet. So that's kind of the scenario that I'm looking at. And I'm rolling with Jacobs, but I have definitely thought about Williams. He's definitely getting the targets, and he's definitely got the talent. And he definitely has performed with both quarterbacks. So what's not to like, honestly? I think that's a guy you guys should target, too, in trades. Like, if you don't get him now, you're not going to get a good price on him down the road. I firmly believe that.
And Chargers are middle of the pack for fantasy points given up per position at wide receiver. They're middle of the pack. They're not top. They're not top 10. They are middle of the pack. So I think you can start Preston Williams here with confidence.
Yeah.
After that, I do not want to start any Dolphin other than him. I do not like the Drake.
You don't like the Drake. Hate the Drake.
I love the Drake.
How could
You know what I
not
heard
like
about the Drake?
Who's the Drake?
Who's the Drake?
Drake is good.
He's not great, but you know what I heard about the Drake was there's a rumor or somebody wanted to start a rumor that he might get traded to the Giants. If that happened, what would you think about that? Would he be a must start at that point every week?
I don't know. I would have to see. Their line is not great. I think he has more chance of having a better fantasy season there than he does with the Dolphins.
I think Kenyon Drake is a guy that needs a lot of carries. And he's never going to get that in Miami, not consistently.
No, he gets in a groove is what it is. So
he's a Leonard Fournette type of guy where you might not have much for yardage from him at halftime, but in the second half, he could break a 69-yard run.
Drake's best games were when he was given the ball like 23, 26 times.
Exactly.
Here he's being given it, 8, 11, 12, so he can never get in that groove. And I just think he continues down a downward spiral with Miami if he doesn't get out of there.
Phillip Rivers, Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen has 29 receptions, 404 yards, and 3 touchdowns, John. I think you could get that in this game. Keenan Allen might score 50 fantasy points in PPR this week, and I'm glad I'm not going against him, frankly. So, yeah, start Rivers, start Allen.
Dolphins rank bottom 5 in
Why would you, you picked up Gunter Minshew this week, okay? But you have Cousins, which I get there's concerns there, but you also have Phillip Rivers, who's I would think your obvious start this week.
No, I'm starting Phillip Rivers. I just picked up Minshew for insurance because, I try not to have Cousins. I actually tried to pick up someone else, but my waiver wire claim I didn't bid enough on the player I wanted to get.
Yeah.
So
on to the Raiders and the Colts. Talk to me, John, about Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs, he needs to get more targets here. They need to get him involved more. So I definitely think they need to get him the ball, not just as it relates to running the ball, but they need to give him more targets. The kid can catch. The kid actually has a lot of skills, but he doesn't have a chance to show it based on that.
Okay. So, yeah, for me, Josh Jacobs, dude, I just think this is a good week for him. I'm expecting a bounce back. He's over the illness that he was dealing with, which I think was a big part of why we haven't seen much production from him, or usage for that matter. I mean, he looked good out there, John. He had over 4 yards a carry, but he only got, this last week, only 10 carries, only 2 targets in the passing game. I think now that he's literally healthy and the illness has moved on, as far as I understand it, in addition to that, Gruden has talked about getting him more involved in the passing game. In addition to that, they get a pretty good matchup this week against a not great run D for Indy.
Colts rank bottom 5 against the run, or against running backs, I should say, not against the run, against running backs.
I think Carr can keep pace with Brissett, especially without T.Y. Hilton. This is a perfect scenario, I think, for Josh Jacobs to bounce back. I think that's going to happen, but I don't know. I mean, what we've seen so far would indicate no, but I'm going my gut a little bit on this one, as you always like to say. What about Tyrell Williams, Darren Waller? I think Darren Waller is a must start. Derek Carr loves his tight ends.
Pure targets here. Darren Baller Waller, till further notice. He's just balling out, getting all those targets, and I think he will continue here as well.
What about Tyrell Williams, John?
As long as Malik,
I was going to say, Malik Hooker looks like he's not going to be out there.
I don't. More than likely, he will not be, which makes things for Tyrell Williams a lot easier. If we be playing against a backup, I always say start Tyrell Williams.
Okay. No, go ahead. Sorry.
A sneaky play this week, if you are hurting that receiver and you want a sneaky play, I think this could be the week Hunter Renfrow breaks out. I actually forgot to report this because it came after.
And Hunter Renfrow, man.
Nope. Ryan Grant was released. Renfrow will now slide into that position. You will see more targets. But we'll see. I think he's my sleeper start this
I
week.
just don't know how to quit you. That's you and Hunter Renfrow. God, man. Anyway, what's next on our list, John?
Next game is
Are we done with... Oh, no, dude. We haven't even discussed Marlon Mack.
Indy. We have to talk about Indy.
Yeah, T.Y. Hilton, if he's out there, you start him. A little worried about the quad, though. And then Marlon Mack, what are your thoughts on starting? I think he's probably a must-start this week, John.
Marlon Mack, I wish I saw more of his... He doesn't get enough targets. I've never been...
No, he's not a workhorse back. I mean, we knew that going into the season. And if anybody thought that, they were fooling themselves.
I think you start Marlon Mack here. Raiders are middle of the pack against the run. They're not awful. They're not horrible.
Yeah,
but
I think you'll have a fine game.
You have to remember here that the Colts have one of the best offensive lines other than the Cowboys. So you start Mack till further notice.
Yeah, I think
Quentin
you're right.
Nelson's...
Unless he faces a really bad matchup.
Quentin Nelson's destroying guys. So it just helps Mack,
You love that guy.
The guy's awesome.
All right. We were. What about Doyle, Ebron, who else? Paris Campbell. Are we starting any of those guys with a lot of confidence?
If Ty is completely out, if he is ruled out, I have more confidence in O'Doyle and Ebron.
It's Doyle.
O'Doyle rules. Those two I actually have more than Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell still doesn't seem like he's involved. He's not seeing the target. I would not start him.
Okay. Moving on to Kansas City against Detroit. This one's in Detroit. Kansas City, of course, 3-0. They're probably not going to start losing anytime soon against teams like this. But Damian Williams, LaShawn McCoy, just real quick, are those guys ready to go this week? Where does that stand?
LaShawn McCoy is limited. I think.
Let me ask you this: do you think these guys will play?
I think LaShawn McCoy will play. Yeah. Damian Williams will not play.
So much. Okay.
I think Darrell Williams will start again. They'll ease McCoy into it. They don't want to have him start and possibly, you know what I'm saying? They'll kind of like last week, his usage. I see a split there.
So if Darius Slay is out, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem for Detroit.
If
Slay's out, who does that benefit the most, I guess? Because Slay, doesn't he normally go out of the slot?
He follows the number. Slay usually will target the outside guy.
Okay.
Usually. So which is DeMarcus Robinson. Hardman is more your slot guy, but they've used Hardman on the outside as well. So one of those could be Watkins.
I'm going to tell you this right now, especially if Slay is out, he is their defense, really. I mean, they don't have a bad defense, but he's the glue of that defense.
Yep.
If he doesn't play, you can start Robinson and Hardman, I think.
Yep.
Pretty comfortably. You're definitely starting Travis Kelce because he's just a monster among men out there.
Watkins,
I would start. Any receiver in Kansas City, specifically if Slay is out. And I think Slay would probably cover
Watkins. He should.
So Watkins, sit him if Slay's out there. If Slay's not, you start Hardman, Robinson, and Watkins. I'm still uncomfortable starting any Kansas City running back right now, John.
It's the timeshare. I mean, I don't blame you there. You don't know who's going to go off what week.
But if McCoy's out, you definitely start Darrell Williams.
Oh, if McCoy's out, Darrell Williams is a must-start based on volume.
I think we said this last week, too, to be honest with you. Pat Mahomes, I think we're probably starting him. Wouldn't you agree?
If someone doesn't start Pat Mahomes, then you should be playing fantasy football.
Well, Phillip Rivers has a good matchup this week.
Mahomes always has a good matchup.
Yeah.
At this point, like I said,
he's got the Kavorka.
Yep, he is a must-start every week.
I have officially dubbed it the Kavorka code. What about Kenny Golladay?
Golladay should
getting targeted, man. He's getting the targets. I think you have to start Golladay.
You have to.
You're starting him.
I think you do. Secondary for the Chiefs is not good.
What about Marvitron?
I think you can start Marvitron as well.
Okay. Oh. I almost forgot, dude. What about Is it a get right game for carry on?
This should be a get-right game. Chiefs are in the bottom 10 against running back, so you should not cry anymore after this week. This is the week he should actually easily total 100 yards. I think they need to get him the ball more out of the backfield as well as in targets. But 20 carries last week for the yardage he got was very disappointing. What was it, 40 yards? I don't even remember. It was horrible.
It was bad.
It was bad. He's seen the volume, but this should be the week. He should get 100 rushing yards and a TD.
Start carry on. Start Galladay.
Yep.
All right. Anybody else in Detroit you're starting?
I think Marvin Jones. Amendola may miss this game. He's right now he's not practicing, so
Sorry, I'm in the Galladay groove.
I hope Galladay gets in a groove this week. I need him to because he let me down last week.
I think he will. I think he'll be fine. Sure.
Next game.
I get really excited.
New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. I think maybe you can start Josh Allen from Buffalo just for garbage time purposes. And that's probably where I draw the line there. And I'm not starting him. I have Josh Allen. I have Daniel Jones. I'm starting Daniel Jones. I would sit Josh Allen this week, though. And then I would start... I mean, I know Buffalo has a good defense, but New England, I just have this feeling New England's just going to... New England sees the 3-0 record on Buffalo, and they're like, nah, fam. They're just going to, like, destroy them. I think... I don't know what the spread is on this one, John. I think it's like 7 or in the range of 7. This team, New England, is going to win, I would say, at least 35-7, maybe even 35-3. I definitely am not starting any Bills, but at the same time, Buffalo does have a good defense. So I think you start Edelman. I think you start Brady. Sony Michel, John. Talk to me about Sony. Are you starting him? Are you starting Burkhead? Are you starting White? I mean, who do you start on this team? It's they're going to score points, but you just don't know who's going to score the points.
I think based on Burkhead's last 3 weeks' performances, you have to start Burkhead, especially not in so much standard, but PPR. He is seeing definitely the targets out of the backfield. He's averaged more than 10 points every single week so far. Michelle scares me. He's not seeing the high volume he was. The other problem is... I don't know if he's not in the groove or if he's not part of the game plan, but like this week he was not involved that much.
Yeah, I wouldn't start him this week.
Especially if this game turns into a blowout, they'll probably use Burkhead more.
There's only really 2 guys that I'm comfortable starting every single week that I trust in New England, and outside of Tom Brady, is Julian Edelman, and he's hurt, so who knows? I mean, one bad hit and he's out, and James White. And honestly, I could see this game go like that's my prediction of the game, but I could see if they can get to Brady, he's not going to play well because that's his MO. If you start getting to him and
you get too much pressure, yeah,
he can't handle it. So I don't think that's going to be the case. So I think New England's going to rout these guys. And you can probably start them all, but honestly, for me, it's Edelman and White are the only 2 I trust. And Edelman, I don't even trust much because he's got that rib cage chest thing going on right now.
He practiced today very limited, but they say he's good to go.
So you think he'll play this week?
Yep,
then?
I think he plays. Josh Gordon though will probably be covered by Tre'Davious White.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of
no Gordon.
I didn't mention Gordon, and that's my bad. But I'm definitely White is a shutdown elite corner, and I think personally that Gordon's going to be the guy that he's going to focus on, and I think he'll take Gordon out of the game, but Gordon does have that touchdown capability. But yeah, man, it's really just Julian and James White for me on this one. But Tre'Davious White is on the injury report, John. Are you concerned with that, or you think he's going to be out there?
No, I think he'll be out there this week. It wasn't a major injury. I think he'll be out there. This is a divisional matchup. Buffalo wants to try to prove something here, saying that they're 3-0, that they can compete. So they're gonna have their best guys out there this week, unless it's something like Singletary, where he's been out already multiple weeks. You don't know, multiple, but missed last week. He's their future. They're not going to rush him back. But where it is their top corner facing one of their top wide receivers, I think he plays.
All right, what's next on the docket?
Next game, Tennessee Titans were 1-2 at the Falcons who were 1-2.
Okay, Titans Falcons.
I think Tennessee, you have
Not
to.
starting Mariota.
Nope. You start Delaney Walker based on his target volume. You start Derrick Henry. I know.
Yeah, and I know Delaney's on the injury report too, but I think he's good to go. Tennessee's got good D though, so this could be a surprisingly low-scoring game.
It could. I know some people are thinking that Atlanta should go off in this game, but Tennessee has done a decent job. Other than Minshew, but even Minshew didn't carve him up that much. That game was at what 20-7, I believe.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and Minshew had 200 yards, so that's not a ton. He did have 2 touchdowns that helped him out there.
But I would not start Devontae Freeman here. I would not start. Ridley scares me based on his target volume last week, but I think that the Tennessee will put more pressure on covering Julio, so Ridley could be sneaky here. Hooper's been seeing a lot of volume here. He could be really good. I think Tennessee, let me look at my stats here, but I don't think they're fare great against the tight ends, but I could be totally wrong about this.
Yeah, I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Titans actually rank bottom 5 against tight ends, so Austin Hooper becomes a must-start here.
Yeah, man, I might have to be wrong about Austin Hooper. We'll see how he plays this week. But remember, Hooper's really inconsistent too, so we'll see how that shakes out. But, I think they're going to try to go out of their way to get Calvin Ridley back to form this week, John. This is a game that I could see being a low-scoring affair. You're starting Julio Jones. To me, your obvious starts are Julio Jones. I think Henry will be fine. I think you can start Henry. Corey Davis, you're definitely not starting. You're not starting any receiver outside of Delaney Walker. Delaney, you have to start unless you have a top 3 guy in addition to him. Kittle's not playing this week, but like a Kelsey or an Ertz. If you don't have those guys and you have Walker, you're starting Walker because he's about as steady as it goes right now.
But with Mariota the way he's been playing, I don't trust any, like you said, any Titans receiver until further notice.
But I think you can start Ridley. I think you start Hooper. They should be fine. But just know that one of them might clunker out on you this week. And I don't know about injuries, John.
One injury to monitor would be Deion Jones, I believe, came out of the game. I haven't heard any.
Yes, that is a big one, actually.
Yep.
And if he doesn't play, then I don't know. That's good for
Delaney
Henry,
Walker
for Henry and Walker.
And Walker because in the middle.
Yeah.
Humphreys could see a little bit over the middle, but I don't trust him.
I think he was a 1-week wonder, but they have a lot of good talent on that team, but they have Marcus Mariota as the quarterback. Is this the week? If he stinks halftime, do you see Ryan Tannehill trotting out there?
I don't think it's the week yet. I think they'll go after this week. They're 1-2. They would drop to 1-3 after this week.
But that's the thing. All right, it's halftime. Mariota still stinks, and for some reason we're starting to just finally figure it out now. If we lose, we're going to be 1-3. Maybe we throw Tannehill out there. So you could see the debut of Ryan Tannehill as the Titans quarterback this week. And of course, Ridley's on the injury report too, but I don't think that's a big deal. And Walker is as well, but I think you'll see those guys play. So what's next on the docket?
Next game we have up
Seattle
is
and Arizona.
No, Tampa Bay at the Los Angeles Rams. Tampa is 1-2. Los Angeles is 3-0.
You are definitely sitting Jameis Winston here because LA's actually got a really good defense. Aqib Talib, I think, is going to cause problems for Mike Evans. I think Godwin's the play this week, but this could be a really tough week for Tampa. And then you move on to LA. It's Cooper Kupp, it's Robert Woods, it's Brandon Cooks, and I think we're in a situation here, John, where last year those 3 coexisted until Kupp got hurt, and then Woods and Cooks were guaranteed every week to give you some good numbers. Not the case anymore. I don't think Goff is able to support 3 out of 3 there.
No, I think the pecking order
and
now.
Woods to date has been the odd man out.
Yep, I think it's Kupp 1, Cooks 2, Woods 3.
I think this could be the game where you see a little bit of a bounce back from Woods, though. But with that being said, that's going to almost assure you that Kupp or Cooks is not going to play well. But I think you have to start any of these guys because Tampa's D isn't that great. Daniel Jones just destroyed these guys last week. So I think you have to start all the receivers in L.A. And Todd Gurley, what's going on there?
He's not getting his full workload. He just doesn't look himself.
And the Bucs have been not bad against the run. They really haven't, from what I've
No,
seen.
they've actually been pretty good against the run. I mean, they're not like top 5, but they're actually good against the run.
Yeah.
They've been doing a good job. I believe, I can't remember his name. It's going to bug me now, but one of their linebackers already has 8 sacks on the year for the Bucs.
Yeah.
He's on pace to destroy the
crazy.
sack record.
I think you start O.J. Howard this week, John. I think we saw signs of life from him last week, and I think this is the game that you might see him really, truly come back to form.
See, I disagree with that one.
Well, I hope that he plays well.
Well, no, I know for your sake, I get that. The reason why here, Rams are, believe it or not, were one of the worst teams last year against the tight ends. As of right now, I know we only have 3 weeks of data, but the Rams are a top 10 defense against the tight end.
I guess my challenge there would be who have they played? And I can look that up for you if you
Cleveland, which
Okay.
they don't have a tight end.
Nothing.
You might want to find out the other two.
I can look it up for you.
The Saints,
but- And who do they have?
Jared Cook.
Jared Cook is not good. The only time Jared Cook was ever good was because Derek Carr has an obsession with tight ends. And
It's
throws,
not even just
throws
Jared
almost
Cook.
exclusively.
It's not even Jared Cook. It's the fact that the Saints don't use their tight end.
Yeah. You're right. You're right.
Who's the first one I'm trying to remember they played?
I'll look that up for
Okay.
you. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, so Howard scares me a little bit here. That's my thought on it, just because, I mean, yes, they might not have played great teams, but Howard is a specimen, is the word to use. He's faster than most tight ends, and he's due for a breakout game, so he could go either way here.
They played week 1. They played Greg Olson, and he had a good game. So I think O.J. Howard could. I'm not going to guarantee it, guys.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
saying
yeah, no.
He's a must start, but I think he's a start, especially if you're in a situation like me. I have George Kittle on a bye. I mean, that's about as good of a bye week film.
I'm staying away from Barber or Ronald Jones or the Boogeyman here, based on the fact that it's the Rams. Their defense looks 100 times better. Boogeyman could, if this game turns into a blowout, the Boogeyman could see a lot of pass receptions late in the game, possibly, but it depends how fast this game goes out of hand. I think it's the Rams are at home. They play better at home. I don't think this is going to be a game. I really don't. I think it's going to be lopsided here.
I mean, you have to start Evans. You have to start Godwin. I would just temper your expectations. I think Howard's a good start this week, guys. Conversely, I don't think Jameis Winston is a good start, but we'll see. We'll see. Jameis is going to throw a lot of picks, man, and I don't think he's going to throw a lot of touchdowns to offset that.
Winston, do you play him, do you think, because of garbage time, possibly? Or no, just because you think of turnovers? You know what I'm saying.
I do, and Josh Allen I would do that with, so I guess it's unfair for me to say I wouldn't with Winston, but you got to have better options than Jameis this week.
Yeah.
You really do. Just like I think you got to have better options than Allen this week. So no, I would just sit him. Don't play that game. Todd Gurley, you can't sit him, but jeez, it doesn't look good, dude. I don't know what's going on there.
He could be one of the ones on next week's show for Panic Attack.
And he might be. And this, John, is the ripple effect. Todd Gurley is not performing or getting the usage to the level that Todd Gurley does, which is causing Jared Goff to not be able to support the 3 receivers, and he only can support 2 now. So it's just the ripple effect.
They don't have that established run game like they did last year. People have to respect the run. So
Right.
when you respect the run, when the run game's there, it opens up the passing game with no, Gurley's not even half of what he was last year at this point. Don't know if it's something he's going to get out of his groove. But like you said, and we've both said, we're both concerned for Gurley here. His usage has gone down compared to last year. What was he seeing, about 25 carries a game last year?
Yeah.
What's he seeing, about 14, 15?
Yeah.
And that's on
good
touches.
week.
That's, you know what I'm saying, attempts.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's not seeing the volume even out of the backfield for passes like his targets were last year. I believe it. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but he had, 90-something targets out of the backfield last year?
Yeah.
He's had nothing, not even close. I don't even know if he's averaging 5. That's how bad he is.
So we'll move on to Arizona, Seattle. I think you start Metcalf. I think you start Tyler Lockett. Arizona is missing both its starting cornerbacks, so I think it's wheels up for those guys. Rashad Penny, John, can we expect to see him out there this week?
I haven't heard anything on Penny, so I would say temper expectations for now. They haven't released anything in regards to their injury report, so if he plays, start him. Arizona is awful against running backs.
Arizona's just awful.
Yeah,
bro.
Arizona's awful defense.
They're awful against tight ends. So start Will Dissly. I'm pretty comfortable saying that.
They are the worst team against tight ends. So you start Disley
Yes.
with confidence.
So start Dissly. Start everybody. I think except Chris Carson, because that dude, all he's going to do is put the ball on the ground. Rashad Penny, if he suits up, is going to be a great start. If you have Chris Carson and Rashad Penny's not playing, you can start him. But I don't know. He's fumbled in every single game, John, and he's running at 3.1 yards per clip because he's not that good. He's just not that good of a running back. He's just not. I don't know why I'm in Michigan now, so apparently I get a Midwest. Is that Midwest?
Almost sounds like Midwest.
I don't know what the hell. I mean, heck, it is. So Kyler Murray, what about him?
You start him.
Andy Dalton looked like a god against the Seattle Seahawks. So.
Seahawks defense, like I said, this is not the Legion of Boom anymore.
No.
You can start people against this defense now. Kyler Murray, based on pure volume, the amount of times they run plays here, you start him.
I'm actually going to go out and say sit Chris Carson. With the caveat, if Rashad Penny plays, sit him.
Yeah, I agree with. Well, I can see that.
Thank you, Chris Carson, for making me look.
Who do you start for
man.
Cardinals other than David Johnson, who I think is a must start?
Christian Kirk, I think you could safely start. He's getting the targets. I think you could start Larry Fitzgerald. I think it's those three guys.
They're the ones seeing the clear targets. Johnson's lined up quite a bit.
I think you can start Kyler. I do.
I think you start Kyler.
So I would say those four guys.
What did he have? 50 attempts last week?
Yeah, they're running a lot of plays over there, like they said they would. So.
Yeah, they're the fastest paces.
Fastest.
I know. Say it 10 times. Fastest paced offense in the league.
All right. Well, maybe the slowest paced offense in the league is the Minnesota Vikings, John, who is led by
My ex-quarterback.
Kirk Cousins, aka Kirk Angle, and he sucks. Yes, that's correct. He's bad. He bad, dude. That just I don't know what else to say. And because of that, Stephon Diggs is struggling. Adam Thielen is taking Stephon Diggs' manhood and probably his wife as well, would be my guess. Dalvin Cook is the only guy that I'm starting on this offense with any confidence, and to a slightly lesser extent, Adam Thielen, because, and maybe it's the other side of the coin. Maybe Diggs is having his way with Cousins' wife. I mean, because he's not a man either. You know what I mean? So maybe he's just mad at Diggs. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there in Minnesota, but you have two excellent wide receivers, the only guys you really need to throw to, and you can't get both of them to be double digits every week in PPR. That's just embarrassing, dude. Cousins is a big fat sit, especially against the Bears defense. I think Diggs, I'm just not starting him, John. I'm not comfortable doing it yet. I need to see that he is a part of this team, and I just don't think that he is right now. Now, with that being said, this happens every year. Diggs starts slow, finishes strong. Thielen starts strong, finishes slow. But the offense just doesn't look good. So I'm going to ask you this. I'll finish my rant with this. Is Chicago the team to say, nah, not happening today, Dalvin Cook, and they shut him down and stack the box and force Cousins to throw, which might rise the tide of Diggs and Thielen? Is this the week?
This could be the week. I just look at some stats. Bears, surprisingly, as good as they play defense, we've seen, they're middle of the pack right now. They are in fantasy points given up by position. They are middle of the pack in wide receivers. They are middle of the pack of running backs.
I don't know how many turnovers they have this year, and that can skew that.
Yep, that can
stat.
skew that a little bit. But I think there's also divisional rivalry, so I think Vikings would play them a little bit better here. I'm giving up. It's hard to have hope on Cousins, but I think that Chicago will try to neutralize the run. They've seen what Dalvin has done the first 3 weeks. They are going to force Kirk Cousins to throw this week. I firmly believe that.
I think it might happen.
And if Cousins does not get on track, then I would be worried as a Thielen owner, a Diggs owner. I would be worried as a Cousins owner, which I am. So I think they're going to stack the box this week.
Okay. We'll see. I'm not starting Diggs, and
I'm not starting Cousins.
I have better options. I have
Yep.
Devontae Adams. I have Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm just not. I just can't start Diggs. I'm starting Josh Jacobs in my flex over Diggs at this point. Any major injuries here, John, that we need to be worried about?
On what, the Minnesota side or
Yeah, on
the
the
Chicago
Minnesota
side?
side.
Not that I've seen any reports on.
Well, we can go into the
Other
Chicago
than
side too,
BB is gone.
but- Yeah, he's. Yeah.
He tore ligaments in his ankle, so Laquan Treadwell replaced him. They re-signed him, but he will not have a fantasy impact.
So, what about David Montgomery? And there's not a lot of guys I would start here. And this is why I'm a little nervous because Minnesota could get up in this game. I don't think they will because of the Bears' defense, but they could. So, are you starting David Montgomery? Monty Burns is burning you right now. So,
He's looked really good. I mean, I don't know. Is this the week that he gets really on track? I think right now he's emerged as the number one.
oh, yeah.
I think you have to start Montgomery. I really do. I know the Vikings are a tough D, but I think you have to start Montgomery based on the fact that his volume and usage has increased every week so far. And we're seeing the difference now. Was a split timeshare, then 60-40. It's almost turned into a 80-20 at this point.
Last week he had 13 carries for 67 yards, 5.2 yards per carry, which is great. But prior to that, 3.4 yards per carry and 3 yards per carry the 2 prior weeks. Only 1 touchdown on the season. In the receiving game, he's getting targeted about 3 times a game outside of week 1. So just not a huge workload, John. And I don't know if we're going to see that this week at Minnesota. I'm not going out of my way to start David Montgomery. What about Allen Robinson? He's becoming quietly one of the safer wide receivers in the game right now. So is he a start for you?
Vikings defense, Allen Robinson, I believe Xavier Rhodes should line up against him. He's their number one.
Yeah.
I would temper
So temper
expectations.
your expectations.
Unless they don't cover him, but Rhodes usually covers the number one.
Yep.
But other than that, Sneaky could be, I mean, the only other receiver that he's using a lot out there,
Taylor Gabriel.
but I don't see him
I
going
just
on.
don't buy it.
I don't buy it either.
Yeah.
You know, that was one fluke week. What is that, Gabriel's career game, I believe?
Yeah. Well, he's played like that before, but it's just not, he's not a week-to-week guy that you can count on. So you want to move on?
Yep. Well, let's go to the next
Jacksonville
game.
Jaguars at the Denver Broncos. Are you starting Leonard Fournette, sir?
Against the Broncos?
Yeah.
I think you do.
Tell me, John, because I am uneducated on this. How are the Broncos against the run?
Give me 1 second here, and I'll pull this up.
So while John's doing that, I'll talk about Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman. I am nervous to start either of these guys just because it's pretty much a split workload at this point. Lindsay looked great last week because he got the touchdowns, but this week, if the touchdowns go to Royce Freeman, then it's Lindsay who's going to be a disappointment. So unless they're a bye week fill-in for you, which they might be with Le'Veon Bell on bye, I would probably avoid starting either of these guys. But yeah, Leonard Fournette, John.
Leonard Fournette, there's 2 reasons why. First one, he plays the Broncos. They are the 6th worst team against the run.
Cool.
A other reason is Gunther Minshew.
Gunter.
Gunther Minshew has
It's Gunter,
made
not Gunther.
Gunther.
It's Gunter.
Gunther.
My name is Gunter. I will throw football.
He has changed this game for this team. I think teams now have to respect the passing game there, which helps open up the run game. The only screw up here could be Doug Moron.
Well, yeah, there's Doug Moron, and then Gunter's going to have his work cut out for him. I mean, I think you're probably going to sit DJ Chark just because I think Harris will be covering him. That would be my guess. But it could be Dede Westbrook.
One of them's going to be left open.
But Westbrook was more like the Foles guy, and I think DJ Chark is more the guy that has the connection with Gunter. So if Harris takes Chark out of the game, Gunter might struggle a little bit. But at the same time, I don't see this being a high-scoring affair, so I think the game should play out where Leonard Fournette does well. But he needs to wake up. That guy cannot break to the outside. He just needs to really make a decision on if this is going to be his year or not. Because if it's not, he's going to end up getting cut, number one. And number two, we're counting on you, Lenny. I mean, come on, man. You got drafted 4th overall, and we're expecting you to be a solid RB2 with an RB1 floor. But, John, I think we could start to see him turn the corner this week with a pretty good matchup. If we don't, then he might be on the panic attack episode next week. So I'm probably what about Denver?
Broncos?
Are you starting Emmanuel Sanders?
I
we
think
talked about Lindsey and Freeman.
I think other than it is one bad week, but Sanders I think scares me a little because I know Ramsey usually will cover the outside receiver, which would be Sutton, I believe. But you still have AJ Bouye. This defense is still good.
My rule is I just don't start Denver Broncos. I just don't do it.
With Joe Flacco at the helm, I can
just
see why.
Don't, man. Even last year, I'm just like, nah, I'm
But
good.
do you start Sanders based on his target volume other than last week? The first 2 weeks were really good.
Oh, I know, but I'm good.
Okay.
I'm all set. I don't know what's up with Jalen Ramsey, but I mean, like you said, they got a good secondary there, and if they play up to their capabilities, then this could be a tough day. Cortland Sutton, what about him? I see Sutton might be the only one that I start just because of his target share. Seems to be consistent from week to week. Flacco seems to like him a lot. Are you starting Sutton or are you sitting Sutton?
I would say if you have no option, start Sutton.
Flex,
if you
flex
yeah,
him.
flex basically. If you have options, then start someone else.
A little flex appeal. All right, we'll move on to the 3-0 Dallas Cowboys at the 2-1 New Orleans Saints with Teddy Bridgewater at the helm. I think, I don't know, this could be a trap game for Dallas. I know Bridgewater is the quarterback in this game for New Orleans, but this is the type of game I see Dallas not getting up for. Last week they kind of, I don't know, struggled a little bit, dare I say, against Miami in the first half.
I guess the question is, do you think they underestimated Miami and didn't play as well in the first half because of that? Because that's what I kind of saw when I was watching the game. I was like, are they underestimating this team? And then got caught with their pants down, I guess, is the word. And then they took it seriously.
Then Rosen came out and Fitzmagic went in, and that kind of, Dallas seemed to wake up at that point and then decide, oh, wow, we're really a lot better than this.
Saints are – I still don't think Bridgewater is the answer here, but Kamara looked better because of Bridgewater.
Kamara looked great.
Yep.
You're starting him because Dallas loves giving up.
You have to
plays.
start Thomas on target share.
Yeah, you're definitely starting Thomas. Amari Cooper's a must start here. Zeke is obviously a must start. Both these teams have guys that are just must starts.
Both defenses are good.
So what about Dak? Where are you going with Dak?
You have to start Dak.
Yeah.
You have to start Dak based on his first 3 weeks of performance.
He's in New Orleans.
I get that, and I know last year was a close game, but you have to start Dak based on his first 3 games, the way he's played.
So Gallup is out. Do you take a chance on Randall Cobb could be a sneaky start this week. I don't know if you agree with that or not. I know you were more of the Devin Smith variety, but Randall Cobb did have a big touchdown called back last week.
Marshawn Lattimore should be covering Amari Cooper this week.
I'm not worried about Amari, dude. I think he gets the target share.
Lattimore has not looked good either. Not like he has.
Yeah, no, I'm not worried about Amari at all. So I think Amari's, the usual suspects in this
Cobb could be definitely sneaky.
I think Cobb is a sneaky start.
Cobb is a utility guy, so he's not just used out of the slot. He's used that for screens. I like Cobb here. The Devin Smith, yeah, you disappointed. Bye. You're going back to the bench. You're cut. I actually cut him, so bye.
Oh, okay, well, I don't think you're going to be missing much, to be honest.
Bye, Devin.
Any injuries here to be concerned with? Jared Cook, are you starting Jared Cook?
No.
Okay, yeah, me neither.
Against Van Der Esch? Leighton Van Der Esch?
I'm bringing
Jalen Smith?
I'm bringing up the names, guy.
I'm a huge Van Der Esch fan, so, he just looks amazing. The Dallas Cowboys defense looks amazing. You would think I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan deep down the way I talk about them, but this defense, I think, looks good. Saints defense, problem is they can only be on the field so much the last couple of games. They're starting to give up points because they're getting tired. but they are actually a really good defense.
All right, so last game, the 0-3. Are they the only 0? Are these the only two 0-3 teams out?
Someone's going to win, unless it's going to turn into a tie.
There might be another one. I'm not sure, but the 0-3 Cincinnati Bengals at the 0-3 Pittsburgh Steelers. I think we're going to see a good game out of Juju this week, and I think you're going to see more catches than you did last week with touchdown upside as well. So I think Juju's going to have a good game. I think Joe Mixon's going to have a really good game. What about John Ross? I'll let you expound. I'll let you expand on Mixon real quick though, but then we'll move on to John Ross.
Okay, Mixon and Connor here should get back.
We'll talk about both of them.
Both of them should get back in their groove here. Bengals are the second worst team against running backs, and the Steelers are the fourth.
There you go.
Both these teams should look at this and just say, we're going to run the ball. We're going to give these guys the ball. So my thing is, wide receiver-wise, you wanted to go touch on Cincy, you said?
Yeah.
So Cincy, Pittsburgh, adding Minka Fitzpatrick helped them, but they are still rated a top 10 bad defense against wide receivers. So
But they've only had him 1 week.
Yep. So
And they did look better with him.
I think with Dalton here, this defense is not playing the way they should be. I think you start John Ross here. You start Tyler Boyd. That's how I feel. I think even
John Ross too, huh?
Yep, and you start Andy Dalton here too.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh. I think they could definitely suffer under the big play capabilities of John Ross. Probably a good flex option. Connor, I don't know, dude. He just doesn't look healthy to me.
He doesn't look right.
But if you're not starting him here, when are you starting him?
This is the supreme matchup right
Yeah.
here. The second worst run. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think this could. I mean, these teams both have the ability. Again, Mason Rudolph is kind of a wild card here, but Cincinnati's got the ability to score a lot of points.
When I first look at this game, I see two trashy defenses playing each other. This should be a fantasy feast.
Yeah.
It should be like 35-34
if
something.
Rudolph can perform.
Yes, that's the problem. That's what scares me. But then you also see possibly Dalton imploding because it's a divisional game, the old divisional rivalry.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I see a 21-17 game here.
And I think they need to rethink how they use Juju Smith-Schuster. I think they need to throw a lot more screen passes at him because he's a yak monster. He gets the yards after the catch, and I don't think Rudolph can get the ball down the field consistently and accurately.
I think, here's the thing. We know Juju is a very capable player. He can catch the ball. The problem is they need to tailor Juju to Mason Rudolph instead of Mason
Well, that's
Rudolph.
what I'm saying. I think
Juju.
screen passes
Yep.
and
line him up everywhere. Line up Juju in the slot. Line him
Right.
Juju out.
Slot,
Yeah, you know what I'm
Which
saying?
he typically does.
Catch that
but
screen pass. Catch across the middle. Catch the
Let
slant.
him do all the work. Like that touchdown that he had last week, John. He did all the work.
Yes.
And I think that's how they're gonna win games.
They got to get him in the
by
open.
utilizing Juju correctly.
Yep, they got to get him in the open space.
Utilizing him to his strengths, and I hate to say it, but also to the weaknesses of Mason Rudolph. Sure. What else for this game, Johnny boy?
You starting Deontay Johnson?
No, I'm not starting him, and I'm not starting James Washington. Again, it's week 4. It's early in the season. I'm not risking. I'm in a situation, John, where in our league of record, I'm 1-2, and whether it's bad luck or whatever, it's still reality. And I don't own these guys, but I'm not going to risk my season or the early part of my season on guys that I'm just not sure of.
No,
especially with a quarterback like Mason Rudolph. I'm starting Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm reluctantly starting James Conner, and that's it.
For Steelers players.
Yeah.
And then
In Cincinnati, I'm happily starting Joe Mixon. I'm definitely starting Tyler Boyd because he's as steady as they come. He's the Delaney Walker of wide receivers. And I probably starting John Ross in my flex position unless I have better options. Other than that, I think you start Dalton too. He's a good streamer this week. If you are streaming, Dalton's probably a good guy to throw out there, and I think he'll have a good game. But he's not going to have as good a game as the good doctor. You know who the good doctor is, right, dude?
oh, Dr. Jones.
Yes. Daniel Jones.
Okie dokie, Dr. Jones.
Hold on to your potatoes. My start of the week this week is Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones?
Book it. You got a start of the week?
My start of the week would be Phillip Rivers. Too good of a matchup.
All right, sounds good.
I'm playing him with confidence.
And maybe we'll do some start of the week for every position starting next week. Who knows? We're always evolving here at the Working Class Podcast at the Armchair offices, at the Blue Collar Baller headquarters. So, are you feeling good about this week?
Yeah, I think call me superstitious. I had this past Sunday off, and previous.
I'm working this Sunday too. So my philosophy, and I told John, my philosophy is if I have to work on Sunday, I'll do well because I'm not allowed to be home and enjoy fantasy football.
Yes, correct.
And enjoy the games. So if I'm home, I'll lose.
Call me superstitious, but every time I watch football, my fantasy teams implode.
Of course we're superstitious. We're fantasy football
Yes,
players.
true.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week when we recap week 4. And good luck to you all, unless you're facing us.
Okay, see you guys soon.
Peace out.
So,
Hey, guys, don't go anywhere. We just as we concluded our recording, we got some breaking news, John. You want to unveil
very
that?
breaking news. So, Melvin Gordon has ended his holdout.
Yeah. Lock good that
He is,
down.
in fact, reporting to the team tomorrow, but he will not play this week, but he is planning to be back with his fellow teammates tomorrow, which means he will be involved as soon as week 5.
So we might be able to start Justin Jackson this week, and we might be able to cut him next week.
Yep, this is his matchup, but we wanted to
Yeah.
get this news out there for you guys and not miss a thing. So make sure.
So, I mean, obviously, huge impact on LA. This offense just got a lift with the return of Melvin Gordon. We didn't really talk about Mike Williams much, but by the way, in our breakdown. But go ahead and start him. But yeah, no, this is huge news. Melvin Gordon, he might have some injuries here. He might see a soft tissue injury.
I'll be honest with you.
Given that he hasn't been
With him
playing.
coming, he's claimed that he's been staying in
You're just
condition.
destined to interrupt me there.
Sorry,
You're like,
but-
no, I'm interrupting you.
Yes, I
matter
am. I think you just pay attention to him, see how he comes back. I know he has said that he has worked out the whole time he's been on this holdout, but I don't think they're going to rush him in either.
All right, so if you're a Melvin Gordon owner, I mean, we'll break this down more next week, but if you're a Melvin Gordon owner, rejoice. He is returning to not only the Chargers squad, but to yours. So, again, good luck this weekend. We'll see you next week. Later.
See you guys soon.
Thank you for listening to the Armchair Fantasy Football Podcast. Thanks for supporting the show. Until next time.